The Magic Show is brought to you by StarCityGames.com, and check this out. On June 1st and 2nd, the StarCityGames.com Open Series comes to Baltimore, and this event is going to be huge. We're talking hundreds of players, a standard open with $10,000 in prizes paid down to 64th place, a legacy open with $10,000 in prizes paid down to 64th place, at least 16 players qualifying for any StarCityGames.com Invitational in 2013, live coverage all weekend long courtesy of SCG Live, and as much Magic the Gathering as we can pack into one weekend. So make plans to join us when the StarCityGames.com Open Series comes to Baltimore, and we'll see you there. Hello everybody and welcome to another edition of the Magic Show. Now this week we're back with Wizards' latest attempt to kill Magic. No wait, and by that I mean a huge rules change that will ultimately improve gameplay and make many of your favorite cards even better. So what are the changes? Now first up, legendary creatures now only look for your other legendary creatures and not everyone else's. We call this the Phantasmal Image problem. You see, clones were really not designed to be legendary killing machines, but they certainly ended up that way. During Scars of Mirrodin Standard, Phantasmal Image was often the #1 way to kill Thrun the Last Troll. What this rule says is that you can still make that play. However, now you will have 2 Thruns on the battlefield, one on your side and one on theirs. What will this allow Wizards to do? Make more clones! Yes, good old clone will be the preferred method of making your own Geist of St. Traft and attacking with it rather than destroying it. Next up is the fact that if you play a second legendary creature of the same name, instead of them both instantly dying, you instead must sacrifice one, and you get to choose which to sacrifice. That is awesome sauce. So your opponent arrested your Tajik Blade of the Legion? Before this rules change, if you drew another Tajik, you just look stupid. You would play it, they would both die, which would solve the arrest, but then you'd be stuck with no Tajik. Now you get the best of both worlds. You get to slam on your Tajik, and you sacrifice the one with the rest on it. Sweet. And kudos to Ben Blyweiss, who nearly 10 years ago called for this exact rules change and is now finally proven correct. He didn't have the choice with whom to sack in there, but hey, you gotta give the man credit. So that's the legendary creature change. What else acts very similarly to legendary creatures? Yep, that's Planeswalkers, and now they are going to work the exact same way. Yeah, whoa. This is now a perfectly legal thing. Play Liliana of the Veil. Make them sacrifice a creature. Play another Liliana of the Veil, sack the first one that only has a counter on it, and make them sacrifice another creature with the new one. Ship the turn. Oh my god, this is going to make Planeswalker Wars a real thing. Remember back in the day when Jace Beleren was usually Seal of Jace? In Caw-Blade Standard, if you couldn't afford Jace the Mind Sculptor, you just played Beleren instead to stop theirs. Of course, Caw-Blade began to play more and more Jaces, negating most of that, but even then, imagine playing Jace Beleren, drawing a Jace the Mind Sculptor with his ability, and then playing Jace the Mind Sculptor and brainstorming. Yeah, it's all possible, and deck building and gameplay just got a hell of a lot more interesting. And my favorite possibility from this rules change? Planeswalker clones. Yes, now you can have 2 out and they don't die immediately. A Planeswalker clone will be incredibly powerful both with and against Planeswalkers of any type. Oh man, I can't wait. But we're still not done. Nope, when WotC changes the rules, they go all the way. Next up is your sideboard. In the past, it was 15 cards or 0 cards, and that's it. Well, that's a bit dumb. Do we really want to give out penalties because you only included 10 cards in your sideboard? I mean, you're already hurting yourself, right? And here comes Mr. Game Loss to really stick it in and break it off. And let me present you with this moral quandary that has happened to me personally many times. I finish a match victorious, we've already signed the slip, he's already left, but when I de-sideboard, I realize in horror that I've only had 14 cards in there. While I made it worse for myself to draw land and the cards I wanted, I have now, according to the rules, cheated my face off. Now what do I do? Well now, it doesn't matter, because if you want to go from 60 cards to 75 cards in games 2 and 3, you go nuts. Now, sideboards must still be 0 to 15 cards, and you can still only use them in games 2 and 3, but if you want to bring them all in, go nuts. And if you want to bring in just a few and not sideboard out anything, well, that's fine. But we're not done. You know how things can be indestructible? Let's say you cast Withstand Death on something. Ta-da! Indestructible. Now let's cast Humble on it. Before this particular change, because Indestructible was, quote, just something true about the permanent, it would be a 0/1 indestructible creature. After this rules change, it will become a 0/1 that can die from Lightning Bolt just like everything else. Now this may not seem like much, but it conforms to a lot of what we're expecting to happen. For example, you play Boros Charm to make your guys indestructible until end of turn, and then you play another creature. Is that one indestructible? Before this rules change, yes. After this rules change, no, because that guy wasn't around when you gave all those creatures that ability. Doesn't that just make sense? Also, because unblockable is very similar to indestructibility, Wizards is officially changing it to can't be blocked, so there's no confusion, does not work the same, and there was much rejoicing. Now, for our final rules update. Them land drops. Before this update, let's say you cast Exploration. You play a land, then you play another land. Then you bounce Exploration back to your hand, you cast Exploration again, and you play a third land for the turn. After this rules update, this will now be impossible. Why? Because it's weird and confusing. The same goes for Oracle of Moldiah. Instead of having to point out what permanent is providing which land drop, you just have a number of land plays per turn. Each card that affects it simply increases this number. You got out 2 oracles? Well, you have +2 land plays. Now, the weird corner case for this is that if a card says you may play this card, but it violates the land play count, then you can't do it. For example, Djinn of Wishes. You play a land, you activate Djinn and reveal a land, well, sucks to be you. So a bit of a dagger in some rare cases, but it's a bit more clear in the long run. So them's the changes. As usual, people are freaking out. Let's take a look at some of this real mature feedback. The community kicks in with a hyperbole, and as a man who loves hyperbole, seriously, I'll see you at FNM next week. But you know what this rules change also tells us? That Theros is going to have a ton of legendary stuff in it. Yes, legendary equipment, legendary creatures. Hell, we might even see our very first common legendary creature. Awesome. My current suspicion, Wizards is going to take a cue from Versus System, an absolutely awesome game that became terrible right around turn 4, but it did one thing right, showing multiple instances of their heroes. There was Spider-Man, the Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man, Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, and so on. I believe Wizards is going to take a similar route, because you know, there was a certain mechanic in Future Sight that sounds like it would work perfectly with this kind of rules change, and its name is Grandeur. While Future Sight had a whole cycle of them, the only Grandeur creature that ever really worked out was Corlash, a card so cool that it was even the Future Sight pre-release foil. Now, I'm ready to see a common, an uncommon, a rare, and a mythic with the very same name, all able to grandeur themselves up to sweet abilities. Here's hoping. We'll be right back with the latest Modern Masters and M14 Spoilers. The Magic Show is brought to you by StarCityGames.com, and check this out. On June 28th through 30th, StarCityGames.com brings you GP Miami at the beautiful Miami Beach Convention Center, featuring an exclusive playmat by Liz Nugent given to all competitors, the U.S. debut of artist Greg Staples, and much, much more. Join StarCityGames.com in Miami on June 28th through 30th and find out all the details and more on MagicGP.com. So, Modern Masters. Oh, Wizards, what have you done? I think they're starting to realize what a mistake it was to describe this as a very limited set that will only get a single print run, because now everyone is convinced this rare is the rain in the desert, and you better hoard it up quickly. It's all good until boxes reach ridiculous heights, and have you seen those spoilers? All-stars like Sword of Fire and Ice, Vendilion Click, all 5 Kamigawa dragons, yes, even old Jugan the Sadness Dragon, Elspeth Knight Errant, Kiki Chiki, Progenitus, Veldalkin Shackles, and of course Tarmogoyf as mythic rares. But we're just getting started. How about Kataki Wars Wage, Pata Exile, Revelar, Cryptic Command, Kira the Great Glass Spinner, Maloku the Clouded Mirror, Narcomoeba, Spellstutter Sprite, Spell Snare, Dark Confidant, Bridge from Below, Death Cloud, Tombstalker, Doubling Season, Life from Loam, Tooth and Nail, Woodfall Primus, Jor the Gitu, Knight of the Reliquary, Maelstrom Pulse, Figure of Destiny, Kitchen Finks, Manamorphose, Aether Vial, Arcbound Ravager, Engineered Explosive, Academy Ruins, Blinkbot Nexus, and every single Vivid land. Here's a bomb, and it's made of money, and it's called Modern Masters. I don't even. Did I mention that there's a foil in every pack? Because, you know, this set needed more incentives. In a few weeks, Brad Nelson and I will be chatting up the set, so yay for complete set reviews. We were so focused on M14, we kind of forgot about old Money Masters. Modern Masters. So you can look forward to Brad and myself going over all these cards soon in what is sure to be a nostalgia fest. Now, how about M14? Let's chat. You see, Wizards has apparently been carting Duels of the Planeswalkers 2014 around the country, and as such has busted a number of sweet new spoilers. The first up is Archangel of Thune, who, by the way, gives you infinite life with Spike Feeder, and that's a thing. Otherwise, a really sweet card, one that I really want to play with Kitchen Finks in the Cube. I dig this angel a lot. You want to know what card made me immediately realize that Slivers was going to be a real deck? It's called Bone Sky Sliver, and it's just gross. That's basically a 4-2 for 4 that gives all of your other Slivers badass. I'm guessing this is the follow-up to a turn 3 Hive Stirrings, or perhaps turn 2 with the new Llanowar Elves, Elvish Mystic. You know what the problem with Llanowar Elves was? It's plural! Well, now Wizards solved it. It's the end of an era, but what an era it was. Hey, you ever wanted to know what Liliana Vesta's ultimate cost on a spell? Well, it's 9 mana, and it's called Rise of the Dark Realms. Yeah, that's a sick one in Commander. My favorite red card spoiled so far? Young Pyromancer. Oh man, this guy is going to wreck some face. He gives you incremental yet substantial value every time you play a red sorcery or instant. Hell yeah, this guy looks like he's ready to do serious battle in the cube. He's no Ash Zealot, but I think Crew and Striker has a run for its money. A subtle yet excellent card. My favorite green card so far is Primeval Bounty. My God, some value. This card just gives you bonus on top of bonus, and I would like to ramp into this enchantment and then take over the game. Yes, please, thank you. Gaining life and making creatures and putting counters on things. My God, this thing is pushing. I can see it going into competitive 60-card decks easily. Another green goodie is Insist 2.0. Insist harder. Yes, not only is Savage Summoning just a reprint of Insist, now the spell is uncounterable and the creature you cast has a +1/+1 counter on it. Take that. So when you really want something to resolve and Cavern of Souls is no longer with us, you have a pretty sweet option. Two things before we go. First, Ratchet Bomb is coming back to standard. Yes! The best powder keg ever. I love the versatility this card provides, and it's going to be your buy a box promo. Lastly, Ring of 3 Wishes is just a really sweet top-down design. I want to design a ring that gives me whatever I want 3 times. Sure, but you gotta pay for it. Won't be showcased at the tournament tables, but it will be unreal at the kitchen ones. Kudos on that one. So that's another Magic show, folks. They've changed the game again for what I'm sure is the better, foreshadowing some sweetness in the future, and I'll be here, ready and waiting for what's coming. Until next time, Magic players, this is Evan Irwin, tapping the cards so you don't have to.
Always like the fatties.